At 5 p.m. on February 12, Monday afternoon, where most City Hall employees are leaving for home, San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom hosted a reception marking the third anniversary of the city's historic Winter of Love, when he opened the floodgates to allow more than 4,000 same-sex couples to be married. Many of those couples married 3 years ago attended the reception and created large displays with photographs and memorabilia and shared stories of their lives as long-term committed couples with families and of their experiences on that memorable day back in 2004.
Just want to point out that after Gavin Newsom took that dramatic, bold, and courageous step forward on February 12, 2004, the nations, the parliaments of, and the prime ministers of the nations of Canada and Spain have followed his lead, as the nation of South Africa. Israel and Great Britain now have an equivalency of marriage for all of their citizens. We're talking entire nations, not just a single state.
Very, very interested. I got a call from the mayor's office a few years ago. Listen, the mayor would like to talk to you. I thought, oh God, what did I do now? And I went in there and they said, well, what do you think about it? I said, well, Mr. Mayor, are you asking me to marry you? Because, you know, that would be great. It was a Brokeback moment. All right.
I was married 3 years ago here, snuck into the mayor's office, and frankly, I happened to be on an exotic trip at the time, which I seldom do, and I was in the country of Cambodia, got a hold of an International Herald Tribune that said Gavin Newsom was marrying same-sex couples in San Francisco. And poor Chrissy, we had to cut it short. We were on a plane in an hour, and we came back to be married.
I'll never forget walking out there and a sort of surreal experience and having this beautiful young girl. Couldn't have been more than this tall. And she started grabbing me on my pants, and I was looking around, shaking hands, and I kept looking around, and I looked down, and there she was, and she was crying. And just this beautiful little girl, and she's crying. I said, well, what's wrong? Are you all right? She goes, I'm fine, and then she hugs me. And I'm like, you know, are you all right? And she goes, and she looks up, and tears in her eyes, says, thank you for giving me 2 mommies. And I will never forget that the rest of my life.
While heterosexual couples continue to get married at City Hall on Valentine's Day, same-sex couples, however, cannot. And so they, along with their children, appear at county clerk offices everywhere for the annual marriage counter event to put a local face on marriage discrimination around the country. At the San Francisco County Clerk's office, Karen Hong-yee was one of many civil service employees issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples 3 years ago. But after a court order put a halt to that, she has to reluctantly turn down the applications every year.
But just to members, to couples of the same gender, we're not able to issue marriage licenses, and we deny them, you know, year after year, you know, time after time, and it's sad. And they're committed couples with families, and, you know, they should be able to get married.
And I remember the day I was at work when I found out the news that our marriages had been annulled and voided, and I was very, very depressed that day. It was like I felt like after 25 years being a lesbian, I'd finally arrived, and then all of a sudden it felt like absolutely snatched away from us. Because in our hearts, we really felt that day that we got married at City Hall, we're married, and married for life.
Well, I think a lot's changed in just the last year since the governor vetoed the bill. And I think that if you look at the polls show now that the majority of Californians do support marriage equality. In addition, I think that we've got next 6 months before this gets to the governor's desk to bring real stories and show him how real California families like ours are being discriminated against.
One of those families was at the kickoff rally in Redwood City in San Mateo County. Marina Gatto was instrumental in getting the gay marriage bill, AB 849, passed in the California legislature, only to be vetoed by Governor Schwarzenegger.
For me, it was heartbreaking when Arnold Schwarzenegger vetoed AB 849 because I had worked tirelessly on that bill, educated people about it, educated assembly members, senators, and got the passing vote. So for it to be kind of vetoed and not signed into law by one man, to me, was heartbreaking. But I think that that really just shows that we need to stand together as a community, as people, and demand equality, because it's up to the governor to be a leader of the people. And when the people demand equality, that's what he has to give them. So it's about time that he be a true leader and stand up for all of his constituents.
I think Marina is, she's hard to keep up with. She's very much like her godfather, Assemblymember Mark Leno, and it's amazing. I think that it's a perfect example of parenting being less about biology and more about, community. Those in our community who have helped raise Marina, because as Marina says, it takes a village to raise a child, and we have a lot of amazing people in our community who have really been role models and mentors to her, Mark being one of them.
What many people don't know is that Ramona and Arzu, Marina's parents, loving, devoted, caring parents who have, through their love and devotion, helped raise a child who's now a star athlete, top student at UC Berkeley, community leader, articulate national spokesperson. But our state law says you don't love right. And our national laws say they don't love right, and they're in fear of having their family ripped apart because Ramona can't sponsor citizenship for Arzu, which is just one of over 1,100 rights that comes with a simple document that is issued across the desk of a county clerk, a marriage license.
They've inspired me from a young age by teaching me about present and past leaders, by learning about Harvey Milk and the wonderful things that he did as a supervisor, by growing up with the examples of, Supervisor Mark Leno, who's now an assembly member and my godfather, Supervisor Bevan Dufty, who's my fairy godmother, and if you know Bevan, you'll know why. Amazing, amazing men and amazing role models I have in my life continue to inspire me, and my moms have always made me extremely proud of the community I come from, but not let me forget how far we have to go as a community.
At the Santa Clara County Government Building in San Jose, the Billy DeFrank Center hosted a multi-faith commitment ceremony. Couples had a welcoming reception, optional domestic partnership registration with licensed notary, professional photography, and celebratory cake. You can hardly imagine any signs of civil rights activism in a county where its entire population is less than 1/4 of the city of San Francisco. After many years of saying no to gay couples, Yolo County Clerk Freddie Oakley decided to issue her own certificates of inequality and solidarity.
It's an odious job to tell these people no. I've done it myself always. I don't think anybody else on my staff should be, subjected to the heartbreak of saying no to these perfectly nice, perfectly appropriate people. And I thought I better join the protest, which has been a really heartwarming exercise, actually. People have been unbelievably kind in their requests for them and in their response to receiving them. And it's been a really, really heartwarming sort of exercise for me. I've been very, very warmed by the response that I've gotten.
But the agricultural county of Yolo came under the crosshairs of religious conservatives when County Clerk Freddie Oakley decided to issue her own certificates of inequality in solidarity to all gay couples whose marriage license applications are denied by law.
It never occurred to me that there is this huge festering subculture of people who hate homosexuals who are going to be offended. I think these people, for the most part, have some deep-seated sexual anxieties, and they're just covering. And honest to God, I cannot believe that we have laws that, the sole function of which is to protect people from having to examine their own psyches about their, mental disorders. So I'm more convinced now than I ever was that I did the right thing. This is my job. I am the only person in Yolo County who can issue a marriage certificate. So I am the person who says no to same-gender couples who want them. I say yes to felons on their way to the penitentiary for a third strike so that they can marry some one of their homies' little sisters and get their drugs in prison. I say yes to people who are addlepated and elderly. I say yes to people who, are 15 years old, both of them. I give out marriage licenses like pancakes at a Rotary breakfast, but I can't give them out to same-gender couples for no governmental purpose that I'm able to discern. I mean, I'm fit to be a human being, and I'm fit to do what human beings do, and I am so informed by a faith that, says step out in love and be kind to one another, and I am just not going to sit down and shut up.
In San Francisco, this is Raymond Donald Hong for Outlook Video.